There's a moment that comes for certain men where they stop pretending it's just a habit because they've started to notice what it actually steals. Not only the obvious things like desire and performance and confidence, but the quiet things too. The ability to feel music the way you used to. The ability to enjoy a normal day without needing a hit of stimulation. The ability to look a real woman in the eyes and stay present instead of mentally switching channels like a broken remote. Most people talk about porn like it's a moral issue, like it's about being good or bad. But the truth is colder than that. It's mechanical, it's chemistry, it's nervous system conditioning. And once you understand that, the shame becomes less useful than precision. Porn isn't selling sex, it's selling spikes. It's selling anticipation, novelty, intensity. The endless promise that the next click will finally deliver the feeling you've been chasing. And for a while it works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you don't just lose erections, you lose sensitivity, you lose libido, you lose climax, you lose that deep satisfaction that makes a man feel grounded after intimacy. And what replaces it is emptiness, craving, and repetition. That cycle is the trap. And the trap isn't built around pleasure, it's built around dopamine. Dopamine is not the pleasure hormone the internet keeps repeating. Dopamine is the wanting, the seeking, the gas pedal, the anticipatory heat that pushes you toward the thing before the thing even happens. It's what makes the mind lean forward. It's what makes you reach for the phone. It's what makes your hand move before your values have even entered the room. And pornography is a machine designed to hijack that system with precision. There's an effect studied in male mammals where interest drops after mating, but the moment novelty appears, interest returns instantly. And in nature, novelty is rare. In nature, the brain is forced to accept limits. But porn removes limits completely. Endless novelty, endless categories, endless intensity, endless escalation, and your nervous system learns a new baseline. It learns that normal is not normal. It learns that intimacy is slow and imperfect and unpredictable, and porn is instant and extreme and curated, and then real life starts to feel quiet, and not quiet in a peaceful way. Quiet in a dull way, like your senses are wrapped in cloth, like your emotions are behind glass. That's desensitization, not because you're weak, because your brain adapts. The same way your eyes squint when the light is too bright, your dopamine system downregulates when the stimulation is too intense. The receptors pull back. The volume is too high, so the system protects itself by becoming less responsive. And then the mind does what the mind always does when the signal weakens. It turns the dial. More novelty, more intensity, more extreme content, more time, more secrecy. Not because you want that content in a real human sense, but because your system is chasing the old feeling, and the old feeling is no longer available at the same dosage. So the man who started with curiosity ends up with compulsion, and the man who started for fun ends up needing it just to feel something. And that's when it stops being entertainment and starts being dependency. The tragedy is that the brain doesn't care about your excuses. It only cares about reinforcement. What you repeat becomes you, not philosophically, neurologically. And this is why you can't talk your way out of it with inspirational quotes and a few strong mornings, because the nervous system doesn't change through speeches. It changes through exposure, repetition, and the removal of the drug. Which brings us to the part most people miss. The way out isn't more stimulation. It isn't replacement dopamine from another screen. It isn't endlessly bargaining with yourself. The way out is something most men hate, something most men avoid with noise, with scrolling, with constant music, with constant input, because silence exposes the tension underneath. The way out is boredom, not passive boredom, not the hopeless boredom of a man who gave up, a different kind, a deliberate boredom, a controlled boredom, a boredom you choose like a weapon, because porn addiction is not beaten by fighting the urge like it's an enemy outside you. It's beaten by letting the urge burn in the open while you refuse to feed it. The impulse rises like a wave. It screams. It offers you relief. It tells you it will be quick. It tells you you deserve it. It tells you you can stop tomorrow. And most men either surrender to it or they panic and wrestle it. And both responses keep the addiction alive because both responses keep the urge important. The hunter response is different. The hunter doesn't negotiate with the wave. He watches it. He lets it climb. He lets it peak. He lets it fall. And he doesn't dramatize it. He doesn't make it a spiritual battle. He makes it a process. A man who knows how systems work doesn't need to be inspired every day. He needs to be consistent in the moment that counts. So when the urge hits, the move is not to distract yourself with another hit of stimulation. Not to switch tabs to social media and pretend you're doing something different. Not to run from it. The move is to sit there, to feel the agitation, to feel the itch, to feel the restless energy in your chest and stomach, and to do something that looks weak to the outside world, but is actually dominance on the inside. You get bored on purpose. You let your body complain while your mind stays still. You let the animal in you throw a tantrum without getting rewarded. This is dopamine fasting without theatrics. This is the system relearning baseline. Because dopamine is driven by anticipation and excitement. And what lowers it is the removal of that excitement, the absence of the chase, the refusal to escalate, the refusal to click next. And the first few times will feel almost insulting. Your brain will try to convince you that boredom is pointless, that boredom is suffering, that boredom is dangerous. But boredom is the rehabilitation chamber. Boredom is where the receptors come back. Boredom is where the nervous system stops expecting fireworks every time you feel slightly uncomfortable. A lot of men say they want freedom, but what they really want is relief. Freedom costs boredom. Freedom costs withdrawal. Freedom costs sitting in a room with the urge and not acting like it's a command. And here's what starts to happen if you do this enough times. The wave still comes, but it doesn't own you. The cravings go from obsessive to occasional. The thoughts go from loud to distant. Your baseline starts returning. Music hits again. Sunlight feels real again. Work becomes satisfying again. You start wanting real women again. Not pixels, not angles, not endless novelty. Just the human reality of another person, unpredictable, imperfect, alive. And your confidence returns in a quieter form, not the loud confidence of a man performing strength, but the calm confidence of a man who knows he can sit in discomfort and not fold. That's a different class of man. Not everyone is built for that. Some men need noise, some men need constant distraction. Some men cannot tolerate stillness because stillness reveals who is in charge. But some men move differently. And you already know whether this is describing you. Now, the environment matters too, because a man can have discipline and still be stupid with access. If you keep the drug in your pocket, you're not strong, you're just gambling. If your phone is in your bed, if you're alone in the dark with unlimited access, you're not testing character, you're setting traps for yourself and calling it free will. Certain men remove the trigger points because they respect causality. They put blockers on devices. They stop bringing the phone to the bedroom. They clean up the algorithm feeds that leak soft porn into their day and pretend it doesn't count. They stop bathing their brain in tiny dopamine hits and then acting surprised when the bigger addiction shows up hungry at night. Not because they're afraid, because they're serious. And seriousness looks like structure. Sleep matters more than people admit, because sleep is repair, and a fried nervous system craves stimulation, like a starving man craves sugar. So when you're exhausted, your standards drop, your willpower drops. Your brain goes primitive and starts hunting the easiest hit available. Movement matters too, not as a motivational cliche, but as chemistry, resistance training, long walks, anything that teaches your body to handle discomfort and come out cleaner on the other side. Sunlight matters. Being outside matters. Not because nature is magical, but because your brain was not designed to live in a glowing box, alone, at midnight with novelty on tap. Food can matter as well, because constant junk stimulation through sugar and hyperpalatable food keeps the dopamine system spiky. And a spiky system is a craving system. This isn't about becoming a monk. It's about becoming stable. And stability is what porn destroys first. It destroys stability by teaching you that discomfort must be anesthetized immediately. So you rebuild the opposite identity, not with slogans, but with behavior. You become the man who can feel an urge and remain seated. You become the man who can feel boredom and not panic. You become the man who doesn't need to be entertained every time life goes quiet. That's the pivot, because discipline, real discipline, isn't effort, it's identity. It's what certain men do without negotiating. It's the way they live. And when that identity clicks, you stop treating relapse like a personality trait and start treating it like a mechanical error in the system, a weak point in the environment, a moment of fatigue, a moment of overconfidence, a moment where you stop respecting cause and effect. You adjust, you tighten, you return. No drama, no self-hate, no starting Monday. Just correction, because some men don't wait for motivation. They wait for alignment. And when the system is aligned, the man becomes inevitable. If this is resonating, hit the like, not as a gesture for me, but as a signal to yourself that you're done pretending this isn't costing you. And if you know you're built for the harder route, the quieter route, the one where you sit with the wave and don't feed it, comment Hunter so you can see your own words in public and remember what you decided when it mattered. And somewhere in the middle of this, when you start feeling your emotions return, when normal life starts becoming satisfying again, you'll realize something most men never realize. The addiction wasn't your pleasure, it was your anesthetic. It was what you used to avoid boredom, avoid silence, avoid restlessness, avoid the moment where your mind has no escape and you have to sit with yourself. But once you learn that boredom is not your enemy, that boredom is the gym where your nervous system gets stronger, you stop fearing the quiet. You start respecting it. Because quiet is where you get your life back. And the end is not dramatic. It's not a cinematic victory. It's a series of small moments where you don't click, where you don't negotiate, where you let the wave rise and fall, where you get bored on purpose, where you go to sleep clean, where you wake up with a baseline that feels human again. Once you see this, you don't unsee it. Once you feel what it's like to be present again, it becomes hard to go back to pixels. Some paths close quietly behind you. So if this is your line in the sand, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because the men who rebuild themselves don't do it once, they do it every day, and they don't need applause. They need reminders. And if you're already moving this way, you already know why.